Welcome back everybody to a first look at the Sim Design Group's new Cairo International Airport for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So a very warm welcome wherever you are in the world. Hit like, hit subscribe, share your thoughts down in the comments section below. As always, we're going to take a look at this scenery that's just been released via Orbex, and then spend a little bit of time taking a little look at the Gaya Simulations version, which is included for free in, I think, the premium package of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We'll draw some comparisons there. The links for this are in the description down below if you want to get your hands on it, but as always, share your thoughts in that comments section. It's 23 Australian dollars, which equates to about 11 to 12 pounds sterling if you wanted to buy this yourself. We're going to spend a few minutes taking a little look at what this scenery has to offer all over the apron, the landside areas as well as the airside sections, and then we'll jump in towards the midpoint of the video to compare against the Gaya version that's included in the sim for free. First up, as with all scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, there is a significant issue with LODs, which is an ongoing problem that Asobo is very slow to fix, and it's frustrating most of us at this point. To be honest, it's quite sloppy from them, and it means that scenery developers all over the world creating wonderful products in general are finding it tough, because actually the sim isn't loading in the amount of detail that the developers intend for us to see, which is quite annoying, and it's not particularly fair on them either. So bear that in mind throughout the video and in other videos where you see, for example, blurry textures. When we get closer and the sim actually then loads it in, then you get the final result. But as you can see with this scenery, if we just pan around and give it a little bit more of a chance to load, they're quite blurry textures from this scenery, which is a bit poor. Custom jetties and a custom building with a nice design to the outside, which looks quite intricate from that point of view, but then below it the brickwork again is quite pixelated and low resolution, which is a bit disappointing. We can work through the main apron area and sort of pan across in our drone camera to see the levels of detail. You can see already as well that the roof area, for example, is quite blurry as well, and we'll go close up quite a few times in case it is an LOD issue in MSFS 2024. You can see in this instance that actually it's just how the roof has been developed and generated by the developer, so it's a little bit poor, but bear in mind this is 11 or 12 pounds. It's at the very much in the lower end of a scenery price range. Just spotted this very basic interior with very little to see and enjoy there. Bits of signage dotted around the airport, and again very blurry, low res brickwork. A couple of stutters as well, but for example this join here, that's actually quite unacceptable. I think that should be picked up, certainly in beta testing. And the glass there, the panels just look very gamey, don't they? Unfortunately. So we go to the arrivals area, and this roof area should look quite nicely detailed, but as you can see it's not. It's very low resolution as well. I should note there is a Thai Models Cairo International Airport scenery, and I've not checked that out, but the initial photographs that I've seen of the Thai Models Cairo looks really very nice. But as I said, I don't have that to sort of draw comparisons with, unfortunately. But if you have the Thai Models Cairo, let us know what you think in the comments section as well. Draw your comparisons on our behalf. Road network looks okay. There is what I assume is a train or a tram rail link, but again very kind of sloppy development there. Some unnecessary errors effectively with some of the elevation, which don't need to be made. And then it kind of joins into nothing. Bit of a strange one, that. Not a fan of that. Newer part of the building, though, should offer a little bit more detail, he says. Car parks below have just got the bare satellite imagery attached to them, and the terminal kind of roofing area looks okay, but you know, it's nothing special. It's quite average, I would say. Bit of a hotel, the Le Méridien, targeted on the edge of, or tagged on the edge of the airport. Extremely pixelated, which is a real shame, because it certainly, with the unique design, it is a bit of a standout feature of the airport. If you're putting it in, put it in high res, and then a walkway which doesn't have anything inside of it, but you know, looks all right. Blurry textures there as well. Bit of a common theme appearing at the moment by the looks of it. So this is the newer area, which should, he says, offer a little bit more detail. A couple of boulders. Signage there I've just spotted. Very pixelated, but you can read it though. From here, for example, you can definitely read that, and that's okay. And then we work all the way around to the airside sections. I am of the opinion that if you are offering a very low price, you don't necessarily need to add an interior. So I am happy to be forgiving of those. But yeah, the intricacies of this building, for example, should be quite exquisite. But as you can see here, it's very blurred and kind of low resolution. And I would imagine that's very difficult to actually pull off. But then, yeah, we have seen a lot of developers do some beautifully intricate pieces of artwork on their sceneries in the past. So yeah, even for £12, I would kind of expect that to look pretty good. From a distance, though, that's where it looks very nicely detailed. As you can see there, as we pan up and away from a bit more of a step back distance from the terminal, that does look quite nice. Apron areas look okay. As we said before, that there's sort of blurry textures of the actual aircraft, type codes and things, but the apron area itself with the concrete square slabs looks quite nice and acceptable, to be fair. And then we've got things like this, which are nicely detailed. A little bit of pixelation again with like A380 only, but when we get closer, we see that this texture, for example, is kind of half MSFS LOD issue, and then some of it's really nicely kind of high resolution. And you can see there, if we pan off to the side, from this distance, that terminal looks really quite nice. It's when you get up close you start to notice the glaring issues. So you will see the blurriness of that kind of intricate bit of detail there. For example, when you're parking up at that stand, because you know your aircraft is going to be right up on it. Custom ground signage, which is very nice to see. And then we head over towards the runway to have a little look. LOD issue there again, with a couple of wigwags that are not really animated, which is a bit of a shame these days. They could flash. And somewhat blurred runway designator textures as we make our way over this runway. Runway's got a lot of detail on it, with the rubber burn kind of markings. The marking there looks a little bit off on that touchdown point, but it's nice to see it included nevertheless. Happies working away, and then we've got a little bit of life around the edge of the airport here, like a rocky savanna type landscape. It's a huge airport, this. Nice little touch on final approach is the addition of not only a little bit of the road network with that bridge going up over off in the distance to the top of the screen, but a little bit of kind of resort life activity. If I just pan this around, very low resolution hotel, which is detracting of actually overall how nice it could be, but you can see how close this is to the runway. For example, when we pan around, there it is. That's the nearest runway that we're aligned to at the moment, so you would see this on final approach. It's nice to see. It's a bit of a shopping centre here as well, but they've added kind of storefront images, but on repeat, quite massively on repeat in fact, because every single building is the same, except for the hypermarket in the backdrop. Again, very, very basic in design, but it does give you a little bit of life around the airfield, I suppose. At night time, that's what it looks like. Fairly uninspired. Same with the shopping centre and that kind of resort area, but the airport, look at that. Looks very good. I've got kind of the drone auto focus on at the moment, which is why the lights are a bit blurry. But the blue lights, the taxiway lights, the green lights for the taxiways look superb. You know, so much so that the opposite end of the runway at the far end, all the way over there, is visible, and that's pretty cool. As for the terminal area, up a little bit closer. Apron lighting is okay. Somewhat dark in areas though in that older section, but the newer section is very nicely lit, as you can see. A little bit of magic off in the backdrop there, a couple of shops that you can see. Very low resolution lights though, for example on that car park. And then by contrast, you've got the DHL signs that are washed out, but then you've got the CAT cargo link lighting, which is very prominent, very clear. Tower is quite uninspired. No interior. The red lights on the top kind of just sit there all the way as like a permanent feature, but that's very FSX, almost kind of 2D like. And then if you mind your eyes, we'll go back to live time. We've got a bit of an engineering hangar there, nice to see some statics. And then by the looks of it, a military apron, which we shall go and check out. There you go. High resolution AI models, static aircraft, but again low res signage which lets it down. Nice to see a Dreamliner there. It would have been nice to see this kind of aircraft graveyard have some statics associated with it, if in fact it's still there, because they've exposed it on the satellite imagery but then not put something there. I think that's a missed opportunity. So there's a very brief look around the SDG Cairo International Airport. Via Orbex you can get it for £11 to £12, pounds sterling that is, about $15 US approximately, if you wanted to get your hands on it. And as we've said throughout, it's a very kind of average looking scenery given the price. There's a lot of very, very low resolution textures. I'd like to see the glass, the night textures, the emissives, the signage improved with the resolution as well, for example. just to offer a little bit more. So perhaps we could see that in an update in the future. But let's now take a look and compare it against the Gaya Simulations scenery and see what that might offer in comparison. Alrighty, Gaya Simulations Cairo International included in, I think, either Deluxe or Premium Deluxe Edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And instantly, there is a whole lot of improvement to the amount of detail included. Even just looking at the two towers there that we saw on the earlier part of the video with SDG's payware scenery, this has got a lot more depth and resolution to it. Granted, it doesn't have the radome at the top spinning away, but actually I could kind of forgive that based on the rest of it looking pretty neat. The cargo area down here looks very, very different. In fact, there's no kind of distinguishing DHL signage or anything like that, but the roofs are a lot better in resolution, a lot higher resolution in fairness. Still got the same issues with a little bit of popping artifacts and things now and again, but even the air conditioning unit, for example, in this is actually animated, which is very nice to see. A little bit more generic with the airport signage. This area before had quite a few custom signs attached to it, which was very nice to see from the SDG scenery. As you can see here, there's none on the junction whatsoever detailing the different taxiways that you might be on. But I can kind of forgive that when you've got like a backdrop that looks as clear as that does, for example. And the car park over here, which had the very washed out glass signage and things, look at that in contrast, much nicer, much clearer. Like most sceneries, as we go a little bit further up and away though, we do get the LOD issue. That's a massive issue with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, like I said at the very beginning of this video. So yeah, I wanted to show you at least the contrast between the two and both having the same problem. But you'll notice here that it doesn't have the custom aircraft type codes printed on the floor, whereas the SDG one does, and it had kind of more detailed taxiway lines going into this apron. But the building itself looks vastly different, doesn't it? Vastly different. Looks like two totally different airports. And then the roof section, very nicely detailed, very clear, good resolution. And this is one that's included free. This is the Gaya Simulations created Cairo International Airport for, I think, Microsoft Flight Simulator Deluxe or Premium Deluxe Edition. I'm sure you guys will know a little bit better and will be able to tell me the difference between the two, which one it is. And remember this? Well, this is the Gaya Simulations version. Look at that. Complete night and day comparison really between the two. Very different. Even this meshwork here, much more intricate, and the road areas very carefully polished. What I will say though is we still have a little bit of elevation issue here, which isn't particularly good. With that kind of tram network. Doesn't quite cross over though, but for free scenery you can actually kind of get by that and brush that aside somewhat. That looks much tidier in comparison to the SDG one. And then we mount our way round to the other part of the building, and again, huge difference between the two there in the structure of the terminal. And then this is what we mean before we saw that very low resolution Le Méridien hotel. Look at that. Look how prominent that looks in comparison, in contrast to that payware version that we looked at the beginning of the video. So much better. That is what you expect. Really nicely detailed. Same with the walkway. No interior from what I can tell, but a massive night and day comparison. This one looks like it is fit for the newer simulators. It doesn't look like it's been pulled from FS 2002, without trying to sound too harsh, naturally. But to compare the two, we can look at the forecourt area, and this one is very empty. Very little detail put into it, but I would rather this than have a low resolution amount of detail put in its place. Given the resolution that we're running the sim on, run it 4K native, I don't want to see very blurry textures. I want to see a little bit of crystal clarity and nice bit of work like this. And then we'll move around to this part of the terminal building that had that beautiful intricate detail on the SDG scenery, which was nice from far away, but then quite low resolution up close. We'll see if this one's got the same. Looks like it does. Much clearer though. Look at that, up close. Much clearer. But then by contrast, further away, it almost washes out and you can't really see it. Let's try with a bit of different lighting. There we are, look at that. Yeah, much better. Then we go up close with the lighting, with the sun beaming down on it, and look at how nice that is in contrast. I definitely think, and again this is personal opinion, let me know if your thoughts differ, but when there is a free version of an airport included in the simulator by, for example, Gaya Simulations, albeit it might be in a package, I mean there's a bit of an issue there, look. I do think that if you're going to sell a scenery, you've got to do better. You've got to do much better. You can't just make something that looks worse and then put a price tag on it, because that upsets people and it kind of goes against the good vibes in the community. Even the apron textures here look quite nice. Very clear in comparison. Less detail associated with them though, but I can't really complain. The apron textures, again the concrete, you go close enough, they go quite crisp. You go further out, you've got the MSFS 2024 level of detail issues to contend with. Going to the same place as before, just to check out the runway, and no wigwags, no taxiway signage. Quite sloppy looking actually from Gaya Simulations in the scenery design aspect here, but the runway textures look much better. And the bit just beyond the runway, that rocky kind of outcrop, still there. Looks like that's just fed in by default in the simulator, and with it you've got that little bit of wildlife in the backdrop, which I didn't notice beforehand. May have been there previously as well, I just didn't spot it. But that's the sim feeding that in rather than it being part of a scenery. Much less to see on approach. As you can see here was where that hypermarket and some of the hotels were in the SDG scenery that you might be able to spot on approach, but in this scenery, non-existent in the Gaya Simulations one that's included. Again, I can kind of forgive that because the other offering was quite low resolution anyway, and all the repeated textures and things kind of ruined it somewhat. So I'd much rather it be default than have something that looks bad but is done intentionally. There's the hypermarket, doesn't exist, and we've got that little road network there too. Setting nighttime back up, you can see here just as clear as before. Right to the end of the other runway at the far end, you've got the beautiful green lines and the blue lines to the taxiways. No flashing approach lighting kind of sequence on the runway, which we saw in the backdrop of the other scenery, the kind of white lights that flash in towards the threshold. Not apparent on the Gaya Simulations scenery, and much less apron lighting here. So off in the backdrop there, Station Air Mall 2, not illuminated whatsoever. When we pan a little bit further out though, we've got the green lights, the blue lights, and the newer part of the terminal. I think it's the newer part of the terminal. I keep referring to it as that, as if it is, but hopefully it is. Again, a bit darker on this one than the SDG version. We'll have a look at the tower. Much different. Still not exciting, truth be told, but texture-wise, a lot better than the SDG version. Next, we'll take a look at engineering and that military apron. So on this side we don't seem to have an Egypt Air engineering base, whereas we did on the SDG version. And then on the military apron, again, very basic looking, no statics or anything like that. There is a DHL facility there, which I don't remember being in the SDG version. And if we just zoom out a tad and work our way around to the Egypt Air hangars that are in the scenery, much nicer signage and hangar detail, but no static aircraft, as you can see. And this little plot here is where the masking of the satellite imagery was removed, kind of exposing almost like an aircraft graveyard. This isn't in the Gaya version. They've left it as that kind of muddy looking field, and I'd much rather that because it looks like a bit of dead space rather than an aircraft graveyard with no statics on it. So there you have it, a comparison with the Gaya Simulations Cairo International Airport scenery included in MSFS in either Deluxe or Premium Deluxe, but I do forget which, and the SDG Cairo International Airport being released for Microsoft Flight Simulator via Orbex. Unfortunately, I probably wouldn't recommend SDG's Cairo International Airport, although I massively, as always, do appreciate I've been sent the review copy for free to take a look at, but I think the Gaya Simulations offering, which is £0 effectively, is much more polished, nicer detailed, better resolution, and much more kind of usable as well. But there you have it. I hope you found the video useful. Hit like, hit subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments below, including any comparisons with the Thai models version, which I don't have. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.